This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up? Real MVPs, welcome into another edition of the Primetime Podcast right here on Most Valuable Podcast. And first off, I need to apologize for you. It's been kind of shaky with the PTP. We did a special James Wiseman one. I believe the last one I did for you like this was a while ago, but I'm going to get back on the horse with these every single week. Did it a day later this week because we had the fast break coming out today. Didn't want to overload you guys with stuff. Or as I'm recording this, we had the fast break come out today. As you guys are looking at this, it's Wednesday. All I had is a Bulls reaction video. So going to be doing these on the reg again. So get used to hearing my voice on podcast services around the world and get used to seeing my face here on YouTube. Before we get started, going to be talking about the college football playoff reactions. Going to be diving into those, kind of breaking down all of championship week and looking at how each conference title game could affect the college football playoff rankings. Then I'm going to dive into two NFL draft topics. First off, Tua Tagovailoa did an interview with Kurt Herbstreit from ESPN. I'm going to discuss my thoughts on whether or not we will see Tua go back to college or not. Will he stay at Alabama? Will he go in the draft? The risk reward that Tua was talking about. I'm going to go ahead and talk about that. Although some of you might say, oh, he's going to the draft. We're going to take a look at it. Then I'm going to take a team-specific approach. The New York Jets, maybe it's a reaction to this past week. Their wide receivers were absolutely horrible. I'm going to discuss, should they take a wide receiver in the first round? This first round of the NFL draft could be littered with wide receivers. So I'm going to take a look at the Jets to see, would wide receiver be the right pick for the Jets with their first round pick. It's not a first overall pick, a first round pick in the NFL draft. But before we dive into everything, make sure to check out patreon.com/Most Valuable Podcast. That is how you support us here on MVP. That link down below in the description, whether it's the $1, the $5, or the $10 tier, any bit helps. And even at that $1, you can join the Discord, watch alongs, join in the chat with us. It's a great family we're building. Go ahead, be a part of it at that $1 level. But let's dive into it. Let's talk a little college football to start. And I know there's a lot of coaching changes going on. Might hit that in the next coming weeks as kind of everything lays out. But the college football playoff rankings are out. And lo and behold, for now, I want to say the third week in a row, maybe second or third week in a row, the committee and I on the same wavelength. However, I'll be honest, I think this year has probably been the easiest year to predict what the rankings were going to be. But just like I tweeted out on Saturday, my rankings for what the college football playoff should be, the committee is the same way, a little different. I think I had LSU number one. They've got Ohio State number one, but they've got Ohio State number one, LSU number two, Clemson at 3, Georgia at 4, and then Utah at 5, and Oklahoma at 6. The biggest shock, Alabama falling 7 spots. They fall from what they were last week. They were the 4th team. No, they were the 5th team last week. They fall all the way to 12 this week. So the big thing is, Alabama, are their hopes pretty much done? We're going to look into it. So each game this week, let's dive into it, see how each game will affect the college football playoff. And let's just start right at the beginning and go on down. The first one we've got is the Big Ten Championship. Ohio State going up against Wisconsin. This is not the first time that these two teams will meet this season. They also met on, what date was that? They met on, it was, oh man, that schedule doesn't really tell me. I got to actually click the schedule on ESPN. Come on, man. They met on October 26th. So not that long ago, about 2 months ago. It was a game that Ohio State in the first half was a close game, 10-0 going into halftime, but then 28 points from the Buckeyes in the second half. It was in Columbus, Ohio. They won 38-7. The Badgers were only able to put up a 7 spot in the second half on this Buckeye team. And I'll be completely honest, I know that Justin Fields got banged up in the Michigan game, but everything that I've heard, I haven't heard anything that he is going to be out for this game. Everything, I'm just looking at it right now, it's, let's see, the headlines I'm seeing is Justin Fields put pain mobility aside to help Ohio State win. Everything I'm seeing is that Justin Fields is going to play in this game. The exact quote from it is, "I don't care how much it hurts." So really, he's going to go out there, he's going to play. The only question that you would have is, I know we saw it against Michigan, so really you might be sitting there going, Ricky, we know the answer to this question. Does it affect him? Because this was a game Wisconsin in the first half was able to limit the Buckeyes. The question is, can this offense get anything going against Chase Young and that defense? I don't see it. I don't see a way, like, unless Justin Fields has the worst game of his college career, I don't see the Buckeyes losing this game. I think this is the only game out of all of them that I think is a for sure, I'm not, like, all the other games I could see, maybe betting the other side. This is the only one out of the Power Fives that I would pick Ohio State to win this game 10 times out of 10. Does that mean the Badgers are cooked? Does that mean they don't have a chance? The Patrick Kane, not a chance, not a chance. No, they definitely have a chance. Like I said, Justin Fields, if the injury gets to him, if the offense for the Badgers can actually do something, get something moving, if Jonathan Taylor can get things going against this front seven of the Buckeyes, they may have a chance to win this game. The big question is it going to happen? I don't see it happening in my crystal ball. That's it. So I've got Ohio State staying put where they are. They'll win. They'll be number one. Like, unless you ask the question of if they win, Ohio State will be 1 or 2. The reason being the next game that we have. We have the LSU Tigers playing the Georgia Bulldogs in the SEC title game, and this will be the first time, the only time, these two teams meet this season. And LSU has pretty much been on a roll. It's been simple. Like, the last game that they played that was really close was the Auburn game, and that was 23-20. Now, am I saying they're going to blow out the Bulldogs? No, I think this could actually be a very, very close game. But in order for the Bulldogs to win this game, they have to, one, force Joe Burrow. I'm doing the Chicago thing. Joe Burrows. They got to force Joe Burrow to make mistakes. You look at that Auburn game and what they were able to do. Yes, Joe Burrow only threw 1 interception, but they forced him to make a mistake. Number 2, you look at the other side. Bo Nix, touchdown. Actually, 2 touchdowns. 1 on the ground, 1 through the air. They were able to limit the LSU defense, or offense with their defense, and they were able to capitalize on offense. Georgia can do the same thing. Their defense is good enough to limit this LSU Tiger offense. The question is Jake Fromm. Which Jake Fromm are we going to get this upcoming Saturday? Are we going to get the really good Jake Fromm? Or are we going to get the so-so Jake Fromm? And that's why this game for me, I feel like Georgia's defense is going to come to play. The headline that I saw on Twitter was LSU may not be able to contain this junkyard dog defense of the Georgia Bulldogs. See what they did there? They're kind of playing with the Bulldogs, junkyard dog, kind of a theme. But I could see that. The defense from Georgia, I think, is going to come and play in this game. The question is, what kind of Jake Fromm do we get? Is Jake Fromm going to come up and match the level of Joe Burrow, or will he make mistakes, give more opportunities to Joe Burrow and this LSU offense? As I hit my mic there, as I like talking with my hands. Sorry about that. But what will we get from Jake Fromm? That's pretty much the question, because this game, out of all the games, I think affects the college football playoff the most. The reason being, if LSU wins, then it doesn't really affect it. It affects the rankings, and if LSU wins, it just means LSU will probably leapfrog Ohio State to 1, because Georgia is a tougher opponent than the Wisconsin Badgers. However, what if Georgia wins? If it's a close loss, looking at the other one-loss team, like, let me ask you this. We'll go through a process of elimination. Let's say the team I put forward won their game. A one-loss LSU team. Would you rank them above Utah? I would. Take a look at one-loss Oklahoma. I almost said Oklahoma State. One-loss Oklahoma. Would you put one-loss LSU above them? I would. What about Baylor? I would. So really, if Georgia wins, if I'm Utah, if I'm Oklahoma, if I'm Baylor, you need LSU to win this game. You need the Tigers to win this game because those are the only three teams. Like, if Georgia wins this game, I couldn't justify putting a 2-loss team above a 1-loss LSU. It's those three others. It's Utah, it's Oklahoma, it's Baylor that it comes down to. And I still think a 1-loss LSU beats out a Utah, beats out an Oklahoma, beats out a Baylor. So if Georgia wins this, I think it could just mean LSU like Clemson too. Like Clemson this week, they're playing, I want to say Virginia. They're playing Virginia. It'll be the first time these two teams meet this season. Ohio State and Clemson, I think, get it done. Now, Clemson, I know, in some situations in the past, have not showed up. This year, the really only close game that they had was that Mac Brown Tar Heel team almost upset them. But yet again, that was at UNC. That was a road game for them. That was a home game for the Tar Heels. This ain't going to be a home game for Virginia. I don't really think Virginia is, like, they'll come up to play. It's not like they're going to not be excited for this game. I'm just confident in Clemson. So Clemson and Ohio State, I think, get the win. If that's the case, going back to the Georgia LSU game, if Georgia beats LSU, then I think what we're looking at is Ohio State at 1, Clemson at 2, Georgia at 3, LSU at 4. So really, I don't see LSU falling past 4 if they lose this game. I think they're already in based off of their schedule compared to everybody else's. But if they win, then that opens the door. Because Georgia, I think, will get knocked out because of where the loss happened in the year, the second loss. So a 2-loss team isn't going to get over them. Then let's say LSU wins. So we've got LSU, Clemson, and Ohio State all getting the wins. If Clemson loses, I'll play the same side there. If Wisconsin beats Ohio State, I think Ohio State's still in. If Clemson loses, I think Clemson's still in. So I think the top 3 teams, win or lose, are in. The only thing that will complicate that is Georgia. I think Georgia is the biggest linchpin in that, like, if Georgia wins, that's where all the chaos is going to happen. Because what could then happen is if Clemson loses, they get added to the 1-loss debate. And Clemson, their schedule may not be as tough as Utah. Like, I could see a Clemson sliding out of the playoff if they loses. Ohio State, I think they're fine. LSU, I think they're fine. Clemson, I will say, could possibly be a team that slides out of the playoff if they lose to Virginia and if Georgia beats LSU. But I think Clemson gets the win in my mind. Ohio State also gets the win in my mind. I also have LSU getting the win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Georgia upset them. Let's say all the top 3 win for the sake of this argument. Ohio State, Clemson, and LSU. Basically, the rest of the road paves like this. If Georgia loses, they're out. Clean out. They're not going to make it in. Utah, they're the first one up. Can they beat Oregon? It's going to be a tough game. I'm actually going to go with the Ducks to win this one. I like the Ducks better in this one. I think Justin Herbert has a good game. But Utah, you win, you're in. They're number 1. Then after that, it comes down to, okay, who wins that Big 12 title game. Because you got Baylor, you've got Oklahoma. Really, if Utah loses and the top 3 all win, really then the winner of that Big 12 title game gets into the prize. If Baylor wins, they're in. If Oklahoma wins, they're in. That's pretty much it. Those are the only teams I think that can get in. I don't like... The thing that I think hurts, like Wisconsin's the only team, because Florida doesn't play, they're a 2-loss team. Penn State's not going to play, Auburn's not going to play, Alabama's not going to play. Those are all the 2-loss teams. I think Oregon is too far down. Even if they beat the Utes, I don't think you can have them jump up from 13 all the way to 4. I think that's way too big of a jump for just beating Utah. But Wisconsin's the interesting one. And sorry for the jump cut there. My iPhone thought I was calling on my Siri, which I wasn't. Don't go on. Okay, it didn't. I said Wisconsin, and it thought it was calling for the phone. It chimed in, and I didn't. So I just decided to jump cut it. But what I was saying is, if Wisconsin can get the win against Ohio State, their one, I think, is a tricky one. Because they beat Ohio State, how high will that win rank on the committee's schedule? Or is it just because, hey, you got 2 losses, we can't put you over a team with 1 loss? That's how I would look at it. I would find it hard to put a 2-loss Wisconsin team over a 1-loss Baylor team if that's what it came down to. So really, I want to say Wisconsin's out of it as well. Really, to me, it comes down to the top 7 teams. If Georgia's on the line first. If Georgia wins, they're in, and our playoff is probably then Ohio State, Clemson, LSU, or Georgia, LSU. That's probably what we're looking at. If LSU wins, we're probably looking at LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, and then any of those 1-loss teams. If Utah wins, they get it. If Utah loses, whoever wins that Big 12 title game is going to get in at that number 4 spot. So if I'm going to give my final prediction of how I think this week is going to go, I think Ohio State gets the win. They're in. I'm going to pick LSU to get the win. They're going to jump to number 1. So number 1 will be LSU. Number 2 will be Ohio State. I also am going to be boring. I'm going to pick Clemson as well. So that's 1, 2, 3. LSU at 1, Ohio State at 2, Clemson at 3. I think Oregon gets the win. That's going to bounce out the Utah Utes. And I think Oklahoma beats Baylor. I do. I know Baylor played them tough, but they were up 28-3, the worst score to ever be up in a football game. I think Ohio State comes out for not Ohio State. I think Oklahoma comes out for this one. They get the win again. Should be a good game, though, in that title game. Baylor's not going to be no slouch there, but I'm going to pick the Sooners, and that's where we're going to have it. We're going to have the Sooners be that 4th seed, and then we'll have Oklahoma LSU in that first game, Ohio State Clemson in that second game. However, I wouldn't be shocked if Baylor won, and then we'd have Baylor LSU, Ohio State Clemson. But I'm going to go with the Sooners over the Baylor Bears. Let me know what you guys think down below. What are your thoughts about everything that could go on? Do you see chaos happening? Do you not see chaos happening? What's your predictions for this weekend? And what would be your playoff based off of how you see this weekend playing out? Let me know what you guys think down below in that comment section.